just kind of go through real quick on how you tear down the front end of the Kraton to replace the bulkheads in these. Pretty easy, not real hard. First things you want to start with, I'm not going to go through this step by step in the whole long video, but the first thing you want to do is step by step. First thing you want to do is take your shocks off, take your front bumper and all that off. We'll get that off first and then I'll bring you back. So I was just tearing this front shock off, and apparently I did clock something pretty hard, and it was evidently pink or red and white, because it broke the front guard off, and I don't know if you can see that, but she's pretty bent. So I got a couple new front shocks for the 4S line, so I guess I'll slap a new shock on there while I'm at it. Alright guys, so remove the two front screws on the bumper here, remove the shocks obviously, and then also remove the two screws that hold the front top tie rods in. So you get those off, and then also took out the screw on the top part of the bumper and that little set screw, and now this front piece will come off. And next we just got to take out these two screws under here, but first we got to get this out of here so that we can get this whole top of the bulkhead out of here. These pieces also here will have to be changed over because the new bulkhead does not have all that on there, but that's the new one, so we got to transfer this stuff over to that obviously. Alright, so we got the center brace out. Now we are going to go ahead and remove the two other screws underneath that hold the bulkhead in. There's actually 3 down here total. You got the 2 down here, and then there's a third one right here that holds the very end of the bulkhead down, which is what clamps down on all your steering linkage. Pull that out. And now this top part pulls right out. You don't even have to disconnect or pull anything else apart in there. And at this point, you just want to transfer over all your pieces up here over to the new bulkhead and put it back together. So we'll go ahead and do that now, and I'll bring you back. And guys, the only 2 screws you got to take out are just this one over here and one on the other side, and that'll take your top piece out that holds your body. And then this part that slides out sometimes gets stuck in there pretty good. You got to put a screwdriver under it, and it will slide up out of there eventually. There it goes. And then just take your new bulkhead, slide that in there, slide that back down in there, put your screw on either side. It's ready to go back on. Alright, we got our bulkhead ready to go back on now. So we go ahead and drop this on here. Try to be careful you don't let the A-arm slide too far out again and come out of your axles, because that's always a fun fight to get those back in there sometimes. But get your first 3 screws again in the bottom put in. Alright, so now the bulkhead's mounted back down. Now you can go ahead and start hooking up all of your linkage and all that stuff back together. So I'll bring you back when it's all back together again. Alright guys, we got the front end all back together. Got our top camber links back on. Front bumper, everything screwed back in. Got all of our screws in the bottom back in. The only thing that's left is the shocks. But I got to change out the shock oil in the new one. This is the old Brent one, so I got to get the new shock and put our 50 weight oil in it so that they match all the other shocks. So let's get moving on that. We got a new shock here. We're going to go ahead and change over, get the old oil out of this one, and get our new stuff in there. I'm sure most of you have done this already, but shocks go apart. You take the red cap off, then all your spacers come off, and your spring, and make sure you keep that little ring, because that goes on the top part of the shock against all of your spacers. I've lost that before. It's flung off and never to be found again. So to take these shocks apart, what you want to do is you push them down the whole way, and there's a little notch in there, and you get it lined up with a notch, and turn it normal counterclockwise and unscrew it. Luckily it's got its own little locking device in there to be able to take these things apart. Get that thing unscrewed, slide up out of there, and there's the stock oil. So we're going to go ahead and drain this out and get our 50 weight in there. Alrighty, so we're going to fill the shock up with new oil. Show you how to bleed these things out, at least how I do it. Fill it up to about the beginning of the threads at the bottom, maybe just a tiny bit past it. Just keep an eye on it as you're filling it. That's definitely going to be a little bit too much in there, but you're better off to have it a little too full than not enough and have too much air bubbles in there. But you want to slowly put the plunger down in there. Start threading her back down. Now, in these shocks, there you'll see it. There's a tiny little channel that runs down through the threads. You want to wind this thing down almost all the way down and then start running that plunger. And you're going to see the air bubbles and excess oil are going to squeeze up through that channel so that you don't have any air left inside of the shock. It'll probably start, yeah, it'll start now. So get it almost to where it's closed and start working that up, and you'll see the air bubbles. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the air bubbles shooting out of the top there. And then tighten it down a tiny bit more. Run it a few more times. And you can feel it. It's got a nice solid fluid motion the whole way through. So I think that feels pretty good. I'm going to tighten it down just a little bit more. Run the shock a couple more times. That feels pretty good. So now I'm going to tighten it the whole way down. And that feels perfect. That feels nice. So that's all there is to it. And then just make sure, just give it one last good crank with a dry cloth so your hands don't slip. Make sure that's nice and tightened down. And put the spring and everything back on your shocks. That's all there is to it. Alright guys, well there's the shock. It's all back together. I run the thick black spacer that they provide and two of the... I'm not actually sure if these are the biggest ones or if these are the medium-sized ones, because I know these are the thinnest ones that they have. But I run two of those on top of the full spacer on my shocks just because with the way I land them sometimes, just try to give that spring a little bit of extra, rebound. But alright, we're going to go ahead and throw these back on the car, and Kraton will be back in action again. Alright guys, and that's all there is to it. I mean, in real time, it's probably been 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I'm guessing. Got the front bulkhead changed out, got a new shock on there, and the right oil put in it. And the Kraton's all back together and ready to roll again. Suspension feels nice. A lot smoother, too. I think that bent shock was not helping anything. It's got a pretty good little twist to it. Alrighty guys, well the Kraton is back in action again. She's all fixed up and ready to go. Hope you guys enjoyed the little repair video today. If you guys did, drop a comment down below and let me know what cars, what things you guys would like to see worked on. I break my cars a lot, obviously, so I'm working on them. And if you guys want me to record while I'm doing some of it, drop a comment down below. Let me know what stuff and what kind of things you'd like to see done. But till next time, guys, y'all be safe out there. Peace out, everybody.